Please come to order. This is the combined agenda and regular meeting of the Monroe Township Council on June 26, 2024. This meeting, as I said, is called to order. Please take your seats. I'd like we all to rise to honor our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I can't do it. Clerk, please. Can I hear that?
Are you in and out?
I'm in and out. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Charles DePiero.
Here.
Councilman Michael Markell.
Here.
Councilwoman Rupa P. Siegel.
Here.
Council Vice President Terrence Van Zora.
Here.
Council President Miriam Cohen.
Present. Would you please read the Sunshine Law into the record?
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice has been provided by the following. 1. Posted on the bulletin board within the municipal building on December 29, 2023, and remains posted at that location for public inspection. 2. Printed in the Home News Tribune and the Cranberry Press on December 29, 2023. 3. Posted on the Monroe Township website. And 4. Sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. In accordance with Chapter 3, Section 17 of the Monroe Township Code, public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes unless further time is granted by the Council President.
Thank you. Our first proclamation is for Parks and Recreation Appreciation Month, which is July 2024. So we honor and delight in all of the folks who work in Parks and Recreation in our town. Presentation for this agenda session is to Eric I'm so sorry. To Eric Kessner for his 33 years with Monroe Township. I would like to call up Rich Morris, the EMS director, please.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank the administration, members of council for taking time to acknowledge Eric and his extraordinary career. Eric began in 1991 as a per diem employee with the Division of Ambulance Service. In 1998, he was hired as a full-time employee and recently completed his final shift on May 31st of 2024, living off 26 years of full-time service to the department and the residents of Monroe. Through Eric's career, I got to know him back when I started as a volunteer. Eric was a great mentor to us coming up, where he took the time to teach and show the different skills that it takes to be an EMT, more than what you take in the EMT class. Everything they tell you when you take the EMT class is they're teaching you to pass a test. Employees like Eric are who help make great providers that are out today, and some of the providers in my staff that I have now. I'd like to congratulate Eric on his 33 plus years of service, and an additional, started before I was born in 1979 as a volunteer for the Township of Monroe as a volunteer. He did 1979 to 1991 as a volunteer, also spent time in District, Station 51 as a firefighter as a volunteer as well. So Eric has given a lot of time and effort to the community and surrounding towns. I want to thank Eric for his commitment and time all these years and wish him all the best of luck on his future retirement. Congratulations on your retirement and many 33 years of service to the community full-time to the residents in the town of Monroe and surrounding towns. Thank you to his family, because without family, it makes his job even a lot harder. So the support of family is what helps get through every day. His wife Nicole and his children, backbone support of Eric. Thank you all.
Would any of my council colleagues care to comment, please? Councilwoman Siegel.
Good evening. Congratulations, Eric. This is such a wonderful honor for you. 33 years is quite impressive, and I guess we can say that you're part of the foundation of our wonderful EMS services that we have here in Monroe. I wish you all the best. Thank you for all the service for our entire community through the years. Thank you.
Council Vice President.
Eric, I will echo exactly what Councilwoman Siegel said. As they say, when these people come up with monthly, we have these people retiring or whatever. 33 years is a long time, man, and to stick with it and do the job that you did and to dedicate yourself to the town like you did, I can only imagine if we figured out how many stops you made in a given week, how many in a given month, in a given year. You've literally helped hundreds and hundreds of people, if not more than that. So we can only thank you for your services. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Good luck.
Councilman DePiero.
Eric, I just want to say thank you for everything that you did for our community and setting a great example. It's like you're the MacGyver of Monroe. I mean, you've done it all, and you helped even at Station 51. I'm a fire commissioner as well. I want to say thank you for everything you did as a volunteer and also as a paid employee here, and thank your family and wish you well on your next journey.
Councilman Markel.
Mr. Kestner, thank you for your service. What I have to realize is that the type of job you've done for 33 years, it's more than a job, I'm sure. It takes a special person to be an EMS person and take care of people in all hours and day and night, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
As I've had occasion to say before, I knew about the EMS service in Monroe Township when I was living in East Brunswick. And it was always known as a wonderful service providing exemplary service to the residents of Monroe. And the policies and procedures and how you work were emulated by other townships and towns in New Jersey. I'm a nurse, as some of you know, so I have a particular fondness in my heart for those of you who get there first on the scene. I wish you well. I know that you will enjoy your retirement, and we have been fortunate to enjoy your services all these years, so I thank you very, very much. We will take about a 3 to 5 minute recess to take some pictures, please. I know you have family here, so we will do that now, and then we will reconvene.
Your mic's on.
Item 6, is my mic off again?
No, you're good.
Oh, goody.
You're on.
Item 6 are ordinances for second reading at the June 26, 2024 regular meeting. Would the clerk please read the ordinance?
Ordinance 06-2024-011. Ordinance amending Chapter 39 of the Code of the Township of Monroe entitled Fees.
Ordinances for introduction at the June 26, 2024 regular meeting. Would the clerk please read the two ordinances?
Ordinance 06-2024-012, ordinance authorizing the Township of Monroe to acquire a storm sewer management easement over property located at Remington Avenue, known as Block 13.01, part of lots 4 and 5 on the Township of Monroe tax map. Ordinance 06-2024-013, ordinance amending the Code of the Township of Monroe under Chapter 108, Section 6.23, to amend the medical facility requirement in the Planned Retirement Community District 2, PRC2. Ordinance 06-2024-014, ordinance of the Monroe Township Council repealing Chapter 78 of the Code of the Township of Monroe entitled Personnel, Policies, and Procedures.
Thank you. Item 8 is the resolutions for consideration under the consent agenda at the June 26, 2024 regular meeting, R6 2024-168 through R6 2024-178. Any of the council members wishing to have an item removed from the agenda? Yes, Mr. Councilman DePiero.
Yes, Council President, I have just one. R6 I'm sorry, R6-2024-171.
171. Any other council members wish something removed from the consent agenda? Moving on, we will move to the public comment section of the agenda session. It is limited to items on the agenda only, and each speaker has 5 minutes to address the council. I would like a motion to open the public comment section, please.
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment section is open. Please feel free to come up, give us your name and address for our record.
Do you prefer the
Uh,
table or the podium?
Oh,
The table is fine.
The table.
Table is fine, Stan. Table's fine.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. Thank you. My name is Stanley Fisher, Fischer. I live at 112 Timber Hill Drive in Stonebridge, obviously Monroe Township. I'm a Broadway buff, and I recall that many years ago there was a musical comedy called I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. That could be the title of what we're doing here. A zoning ordinance enacted 18 years ago has not only accomplished everything that was envisioned when it was adopted, is that it has accomplished much more. Most importantly, it has saved lives not only of Stonebridge residents, but very likely of the many residents in the many homes in our area covered by the ordinance under 55, by making it more likely that EMS services will be available to them if needed, instead of having to come to Stonebridge. My personal story is that twice in the past 11 months I've been rushed to the ER in the middle of the night in congestive heart failure. I have nothing but praise for our wonderful EMS personnel, who you honored one tonight who was retiring. They certainly arrived at my home quickly, but not as fast as our nurse, who had me on oxygen. Fortunately, the AED was not necessary, and then worked with my wife to make certain that we were properly prepared to go to the hospital. In addition, twice I have personally witnessed situations where a Stonebridge resident needed EMS and they were not available. In one case, a resident took a horrible fall outside our clubhouse, suffered a bad head injury, and the nurse was on the scene in about a minute to stabilize the resident until an ambulance eventually arrived. In the other case, a resident fell or fainted inside the clubhouse, and when 911 was called, there was actually no answer. Once again, the nurse was on the scene almost instantaneously and stabilized the situation. In my case, as well as the other 2 cases, if we had been in cardiac arrest, the nurse would have made the difference between life and death. This is being made out to be a dollars and cents issue. But as a retired CPA and financial executive, I assure you that you don't always value something in terms of money. The zoning ordinance must be judged on the basis of its value to our health and welfare, and that is priceless. As to the Stonebridge HOA Board requesting the zoning ordinance changed, the resolution contained other statements that were either misleading or outright misinformation. Among them was that the cost of the nurse's office, now $415,000 per year, is an inequitable burden. In a 2-person household, that works out to 60 cents per day. 60 cents per day. Hardly a burden. The Stonebridge request stated that local urgent care facilities make the nurse's office superfluous. In fact, the urgent care facilities are open less than half the number of hours as the nurse's office, do not make house calls, as our nurse does, and don't know the patient's history, as our nurse often knows. Further, one of them oftentimes has had to cancel appointments because they didn't have medical personnel on site. Further, we recognize that the Stonebridge Board is not saying, let's get rid of the nurse, but rather, give us the right to make our own decisions. If you open that door an inch, there are those that will soon enough use the opening to drive a wedge into the services so that they can save pennies per day. It might start with the erroneous statement of who needs the overnight shift when the nurse is just waiting for an emergency phone call. If you think that my conclusion that a compromise in our services is a life and death decision and it's melodramatic, I assure you it is not. The Stonebridge community is aging, and our need for a 24/7 medical facility has never been greater. The continued existence of the nurse's office improves our health and welfare and enables us to age in place. We urge you to reject the amendment.
Thank you.
I have a handout. You may have seen it. It was published in the Star Ledger April 7th. Some statistics regarding the oldest towns in New Jersey. Oldest, not in terms of how long the town existed, but our age.
Time is
We are
up.
number 14.
And that concludes your statement. Your time is
That
up.
concludes my statement. Should I give this handout to the?
Give it to Tanya at the end of
Okay.
the table, and she will
Thank you
take
for
care
your
of seeing that we
consideration.
all get a
And
copy.
by the way, thank you for raising your hand and serving our community.
Anyone else wishing to address the council on this issue or another issue that was on the agenda, please come forward. Again, your name and address for our record.
I'd be happy to. My name is Lauren Sattinger, first name Loren, last name Sattinger. I live at 39 Turret Drive in Monroe Township, which is in Stonebridge. Good evening, members of the Township Council.
Good evening.
I've already given you my name. I'm going to give you my position within Stonebridge. I'm the Vice President of the Stonebridge Community Association Board of Directors. I'm speaking tonight to ask the Township Council to approve amending the ordinance so that Stonebridge is not the only Monroe HOA community that is required to have 24/7 registered nursing coverage, just because Stonebridge is located in a particular zone. We have exactly the same characteristics of every other HOA except in this one instance. It makes no sense that Stonebridge is the only community in Monroe Township that has this requirement. This does not rise to the level of invoking the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause of the law, but then again, it kind of does. Councilman Van Druza, as a lawyer, I think you're pretty familiar with the U.S. Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The resolution passed by the Stonebridge Board in 2023 asking that the ordinance be changed has a provision that the current nursing service will not be changed unless 2/3 of the homeowners agree. 2/3 of the homeowners have to agree to change the 24-hour nursing services. That's a high bar. It's an affirmative requirement. That means that out of 946 homeowners, 632 votes must be obtained before the nursing service can be changed or discontinued or modified. The township ordinance should be amended in fairness and equal treatment of Stonebridge as all the other HOA communities. The vote about nursing service in Stonebridge is not a township matter. It is strictly a Stonebridge matter. Let Stonebridge have the opportunity to make its own decision about this matter. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else wishing to address us, please come up now. Please don't have a Dr. Prakash, could you let this woman come, and then you will go, and then the third gentleman I saw in the back. Your name and address for our records, please.
Barbara Greenfield, 52 Timber Hill Drive, Monroe Township. Is that better?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I was just commenting the fact that Greenfield was my maiden name.
Ah. Okay, I'm here in defense of keeping the ordinance on the books because the nurse is vitally important to the community, and I have a few little anecdotes to share with you about people who have benefited from the nurse's service. But one thing I want to say is that When I came into Stonebridge 14 years ago, I was a sweet, youngish thing. And I was so excited to be buying such a beautiful home in a lovely community with beautiful grounds and amenities and so on and so forth. Oh, by the way, they told me, we also have a nursing presence here. They explained it to me. I thought to myself, well, so what? It didn't impress me. That's because I was young. But the 14 years have opened my eyes that we don't stay young forever. And I feel that we are concerned in the community that many of the younger people who are just 55 won't see the benefit of retaining the nurse and will vote against it. I could just give you I'll start with something that happened to me. I was out walking with a friend very briskly, and all of a sudden I had dizzy spells and shortness of breath. I was taken immediately to the nurse's office. She determined that this needed some hospital time, and off I went. I've spoken to many people asking whether they were helped by the nurse. Okay, so one friend of mine, her husband was confined to a wheelchair, and one night very late, maybe around 11 p.m., for some reason, he fell out of the wheelchair, he hit his head on a table, and began to bleed profusely. My friend didn't know what to do. She couldn't manage her husband, certainly couldn't take him over to an urgent care at that hour of the night. She called the nurse. The nurse came right over, ascertained that he did indeed need to go to the hospital, required some stitches, excuse me, and that situation was resolved. I myself, again, needed the nurse's service. One day I was opening a can, and since we recycle, I was then washing out the can to put it into the recycling, and I inadvertently slit my wrist. Well, this was not a good thing. I wrapped it up. I ran to the nurse. The nurse determined it did not need stitches, was able to bandage it up properly, and I was very grateful. I was quite worried. A friend of mine fell out of bed, called me up, could I come over and give her a hand to get back in? Well, I couldn't help her. It just didn't work out. We ended up calling the nurse. The nurse came and immediately and determined that she needed some hospital care, and off she went. Someone that I know who's had open heart surgery had to have blood pressure readings and other measurements taken. That person went to the nurse every day for 4 weeks until everything was stabilized and it was certain that he had the care he needed. Excuse me. Another person told me of a story where this is a simple thing. She was having eye surgery. She needed to put drops in her eyes 4 times a day. Okay, that was fine, not so bad, but her hands are shaky and she couldn't manage it. And so she managed it by going to the nurse 4 times a day until the condition resolved itself. I'll also speak about being a single. Many people come into the community with a spouse, but as the years move on, unfortunately, the spouse passes away, and now you're all alone in the dark at night. And I know the EMS is out there, but it is such a comfort to be able to call that nurse and have her come and ascertain whether you need to bother them or whether it's something simple that can be taken away. I also had the opportunity to speak to the nurse today, as she told me that the night nurse isn't just sitting there waiting for a call. They wait if someone calls and has a question that they could answer, but more importantly, they're doing paperwork that the day nurses may not have time to accomplish. So that is very important as well. I could go on and on. I won't. I have, as you see,
And your
a
time is
number
up, so
of-
that's
yes,
good.
okay. So that's what I want to say, and I hope you will take that into consideration. We are concerned that our younger residents
Thank
won't
you.
see the importance.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Dr. Prakash, just wait for,
You want to come? You want to
Dr.
finish?
Prakash, you can, he can, well,
Yeah.
please.
Thank you, President. Prakash Purab, 33 Dana Drive. Today, the liquor license you are approving, or it is in the draft resolutions. And I see some residential areas, liquor license. I don't understand, for example, on the resolution R6-2024-169, for example, there is 1213-33-013-018, Nitika Pandey, 327 Morning Glory Drive. Morning Glory Drive is a residential area. So what is this? Not cited tonight, means what the residential area has to do with liquor license?
Mr. McGowan or Ms.
Thank you,
Your
Council
pocket
President. I think the
yes.
clerk's office may be able to answer this better than I
Yes.
can. Christine, if you want to.
Christine?
Pocket license, right? They're pocket licenses. There are some licenses that don't have a location, so they're held within the clerk's office. So that's the address of just the owner, because there's no location for the license.
So they are not making any alcohol?
No.
in the
No,
restaurant?
absolutely
Okay.
not.
Can't
No.
go there to buy a drink.
No.
No.
And they don't physically have the pocket license on them. We keep it
No,
within
I
that.
understand.
Yes.
They are the owners
Yeah.
of somewhere. Just curious. Regarding this Stonebridge, I'm not in Stonebridge. What is, they can call 911 and get the service? That's the first question. Because if I have a heart pain, I'm not going to wait and call nurse to come and then decide the decision. No, nurses they can have for putting drops and all, but I think for emergency, someone said that they called 911 and no one came. This is the least I have heard. 911, when we call, they are there, they call immediately, what's the problem? If 911 is not responding, then what is the alternative? I asked for the council here. If 911 is not responding, I think people should call our EMS immediately. But there is any time that 911 has not responded?
I thank you for your comment, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward. Remember to please state your name and address for our record, sir.
Thank you. Irvin Rothbard, 91 Diamond Spring Drive, Stonebridge, Monroe Township. Obviously, I'm here to speak to...
Into the microphone, sir.
I'm here to speak to the proposed amendment to the ordinance with respect to our nurse. An amendment that's been here since 2002. A major complaint by those who want to strike the ordinance is that the existing township ordinance is, quote, inequitable, which very simply means unfair, of course, because Stonebridge, quote, from the board's resolution, is the only association that is required to maintain a 24/7 registered nurse facility, as the other senior communities within the township do not fall within PRC2 zone, or if they do not have 600 or more residential units, unquote. Well, actually, the township could not possibly have acted inequitably or discriminated against Stonebridge, because by passing the nurse provisions of the ordinance, they were passed years before Stonebridge came into existence. Stonebridge elected to gain the benefit of PRC2 zoning and to build more than 600 homes. That act triggered the nurse benefit, I call it. They call it a requirement, but that triggered the statute. Once they elected to build 600 homes in a PRC2 zone, they were required to furnish a nurse. Now, Stonebridge says, why is it being treated differently? No, it's not. Stonebridge, so far, was the only community that elected to build on PRC2 and to have more than 600 homes. Not surprising. When the township had the foresight to enact a nurse provision in its ordinance, it didn't do so retroactively to the other larger communities that had already been built. That would have been unfair, perhaps, and inequitable. It was done with foresight. Now, I believe that it would be inequitable or unfair at this time, after 16 or more years, to take away from Stonebridge homeowners the protection or nurse benefit of the township zoning ordinance. It was in place when each of us decided to build our homes. Our election to buy at Stonebridge was a very significant way, in effect, of voting to live in a community that had a township mandated nurse. So it isn't as if the town came along and singled out Stonebridge and said, you have to have a nurse and every other town can make its own decision. If a development were to come along right now and elect to have more than 600 homes in a PRC2 community, it too would be required to have a nurse. And I don't know what difference it would make to Stonebridge if there are more or fewer communities within the protection of the ordinance. Stonebridge got what it wanted when it built, and so did the residents of Stonebridge when they bought their homes. Now, the nurse is very popular in Stonebridge. I think you could see from a lot of people here who have turned out, and there are many hundreds of others who haven't. It's a warm night, but there's no assurance of the result of any vote or votes if the ordinance should be revoked. For example, at a recent election for Stonebridge Board, only 4 votes were the difference between a winning and a losing board candidate. I don't think we should go down this slope with respect to a nurse that we had from the time we moved in and since that time. As a small point, perhaps, if the ordinance were revoked or the nurse provisions, the only protection we would have would be a township. I'm through?
Finish your sentence,
Okay.
please.
I did have other things to
I
say,
am
but
sorry.
thank you for listening.
I'm sorry, there are other opportunities. for speaking. Anyone else wishing to address us, please come forward now. Please state your name and address for our record, sir.
Yes, Jerry Morelli, 15 Lionheart Road in Stonebridge, and it's about the nursing ordinance. So, for one, I empathize with everything that was said by my friends and neighbors here tonight. I've used the nurse myself. It's a nice facility to have, amenity to have for us. And I support this ordinance. Matter of fact, I was one of the 2 board members that were instrumental in approaching Kevin a year ago to get the board rolling on this. The whole issue isn't that we want to change. It's that we want to give all future members of our community the ability to change should they want to in the future. It isn't about us today. I'm on the board now, and I have no intention of changing anything about our nurse. But what about 20 years from now, 100 years from now? Our community is going to be around for a long time, and the people in our community today won't be here tomorrow, but they want to impose their will and their decision and choice on future community members. This ordinance will allow our community to make the decision for themselves into the future with a very high bar of a 2/3 vote. It allows the community to always be able to decide for themselves how they want to choose their nursing options. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address us, please come forward. Your name and address, please. Yes.
8 Timber Hill Drive, Monroe Township, in the community of Stonebridge.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak in support of the nurse and in support of keeping this ordinance so that the nurse must be in Stonebridge. I have had several experiences with the nurse. One of them was when I had a spontaneous femur fracture in my kid's kitchen. And the nurse came immediately and tried to make me as comfortable as possible until the EMTs arrived to take me to the hospital. In another instance, one time after midnight, don't remember what the circumstances were, but I had a panic attack. And I called the nurse because my heartbeat was very fast, and I was concerned about it. She came over and she talked me down. It wasn't a major thing, but it was a very frightening thing. I think that to remove this ordinance takes us down a slippery slope. Now they're saying it has to be 2/3 to vote the nurse down. What will happen if 6 years or a month or whatever, they decide, well, it's just the board can decide that. The fact of the matter, there's nobody in this community that's getting younger. Maybe the population is getting younger as the resales come along, but nobody is getting younger. And the nurse is an essential thing of our community. I have to say that if any of my neighbors, whether I know them or not, were in an emergency, I'll gladly pay that $400 and something a year to make sure that they are alive. And I hope that they would do the same for me. That's it.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address us, please come forward. You might have gotten beaten to the punch.
Hi, I'll be brief.
Your name and address for the record.
My name is Lynn, Lynne Brillhart, Brillhart. I live at 17 Steeple Road in the Stonebridge community. I'm here in support of the ordinance remaining the way it is. It has worked perfectly. I've lived here 17 years. I have had a terrific experience, many, with the nurse, but one in particular. 2 o'clock in the morning, I called her because I was having excruciating pain and could barely speak in my lower abdomen. I was pretty sure it was gallbladder, but I wasn't positive. She came over immediately. I have to tell you, she called EMS right away because she did determine it was gallbladder. It took EMS almost half an hour to get there because they were out on other calls. That's understandable. That's not a problem. The issue was she had all of my paperwork. She had everything ready. She had it all printed out, ready to go when the EMS finally arrived. Told them where I wanted to go for the hospital. We were all set to go. So, yes, I could have called EMS, but I would have been sitting there in agony because I would have not been able to give all the information that I needed to, and I was very happy that the nurse was there. She took care of me when I fell out walking one time, banging my elbow, was dizzy because I couldn't get up, and who can look at their elbow to see how badly they're hurt? You can't see it. She took care of it. I managed to get to the nurse's office because I was not far from the nurse's office. She managed to take care of it, bandage it for every day for a week, to rebandage, re-clean, do all of that. To go to urgent care for something like this, you sit for an hour and a half just to change a bandage. Our nurse is essential, and I do not want it to change, so I'm in definite support of the ordinance.
Thank you for your comments. Ma'am, your name and address for our records, please.
Hello, my name is Glenda Beller, and I live at 14 Cobblestone Boulevard with my husband, Paul Beller, who's sitting in the rear. We've been living in our home for over 15 years. I told you Paul's age. He's 92, I'm 87, yay. Paul and I love our Stonebridge community. We originally purchased our home because in 2008, it appeared to fulfill current and future social and health-related needs for us. It has always been our intent to age in place and never find it necessary to relocate to a senior care or progressive care community. Recently, we were alerted to the fact that there is a proposed amendment to the township's zoning ordinance that presently mandates a medical facility and 24/7 registered nurse be situated in Monroe 55-plus communities with 600 or more residential units. Prior to purchasing our home in Stonebridge, that was 17 years ago. It was in 2007. We were much younger then. My hair color was different. Paul's waistline was different. Well, anyway, prior to purchasing our home in Stonebridge community, we carefully reviewed the documents related to the township and the Stonebridge community to help us decide which community within Monroe Township best suited our needs. The very fact that a registered nurse would be present 24/7 in Stonebridge drove our final decision that Stonebridge will meet our present and future needs perfectly, and in 15 years, we have not wavered on that decision. The services our community receives from our nursing staff are not just an amenity or a perk. The services offered by our community are a necessity. I will give you some of our bases for this rationale. Very few residents are knowledgeable about administering CPR. A registered nurse can change surgical dressings with skill required to prevent infections, prevent inadvertent damage to the surgical site, advise if a wound is not healing properly, etc. I have needed this service following several hand surgeries. Driving one-handed to the doctor or an urgent care facility was out of the question. Having a registered nurse in Stonebridge has been one more assurance for us toward having a better quality of life in our golden years. Having a registered nurse available within minutes of an emergency can make the difference between life or death, and she has come to our house when needed in the dead of night within 4 minutes, resulting in Paul needing to go to the hospital because he was in the middle of a heart attack, which I kept telling him was indigestion. Removing the zoning ordinance relative to having our nurse would eliminate the health and welfare protection given to us by the township when we signed our contract back in 2008. With all due respect to the council, Paul and I believe it is extremely unfair to modify this ordinance when the repercussions can be so serious. Stonebridge will lose its protection simply by a board resolution. It will take a 2/3 vote to pass a resolution for changes to this service in Stonebridge, but the outcome will impact future property owners who may not hold the same opinion as present property owners. Paul and I thank you for your consideration. As happy homeowners of a Stonebridge home and proud residents of Monroe Township, I hope you will carefully consider any modification or change to Section 108.6.23. Thank you for all of you. I sent an email to about 6 council members, and that's why I wanted to speak tonight, because I was nervous that this wouldn't circulate widely enough within the council. I do want to add one last thing. What is the worth of a human life? It's priceless, as the commercial used to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Please, Mr. Gunkelman. Oh, you will go first, then Mr. Gunkelman, you will be next. Ma'am, please, your name and address for our records.
Okay. Marilyn Ernst, 113 Diamond Spring Drive. So my story is a little bit different. I am an accountant by education, and professionally I worked for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in Princeton, where not only did I give out money, but there was a lot of public health issues. It was wonderful. So I float between 2 areas. I purchased the 40th home in Stonebridge. I was underage. My husband was not. So where I was 52, he was 54, and we met that requirement. My husband at that young age had Parkinson's disease. So it's a little bit different. I'm not going to speak about emergency issues or, having to call for that reason alone. After he fell down the flight of steps in my house and broke his ankle and really could no longer work, couldn't live there anymore. My in-laws were in Clearbrook, so I knew all about Monroe Township, and I knew about the nursing care that could be available and was going to be available, at Stonebridge also. So I watched signs go up, on Applegarth from Lennar, and we just went in and bought. So this was not a consideration of, unfortunately, my husband has passed away, but this was not like for emergency reasons, which they're all bona fide and they're all important. And it was not an aging decision either. I had called her many times. I called 911 many times. Priceless is the bottom line. I thought, honestly, as much information that I had, I thought I was grandfathered in. Surprise, I'm not. There's so many reasons, and all of them are justified. But in my heart of hearts, I'm telling you another side of the story. So here I am. I'm older, yes, but I didn't purchase it for geriatric, reasons. Great deal of it, I purchased it. I knew I had not only 911, but I had an actual nurse on site to help me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Gunkelman.
George Gunkelman, 5 Kelly Court, Monroe. The ordinance repealing Chapter 28, that's the top of page 2 on the agenda. It's repealing Chapter 78 of Personnel Policies and Procedures. What is being repealed, please?
So, Council President, our personnel policy, sorry, I'm not sure why that's acting like
Because we're not good with microphones.
That chapter of our code is our personnel policies. In our Faulkner Act form of government, it's actually the mayor and administration who can make changes to all employee personnel policies. So it's actually not appropriate for it to be in the code. It's been in the code for some time, but with legal counsel, we have decided to take it out of the code so that an ordinance change does not have to be enacted in order to change an employee policy. Employee policies have to change from time to time. Anti-harassment policies, sick leave policies, different things change sometimes at the conclusion of union contract negotiations. So it's just in keeping with our form of government and the law to keep that in the mayor and administrative prerogatives as opposed to in the township code.
Thank you.
So for how long have we been doing it wrong?
We've been doing it differently for many years, and now we will be doing it differently again, Mr. Gunkelman.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, your name and address, please.
Lisa Fisher, 112 Timber Hill Drive, Monroe Township, Stonebridge Community. My husband and I have been living at Stonebridge for almost 15 years. We have loved availing ourselves of the various amenities that we feel privileged to have. This includes the security of a 24/7 nurse. It is incredible to me that there are those who consider this amenity a burden that we have to carry, and who are actually envious of other communities that don't have a 24/7 nurse. For those that are so interested in eliminating the nurse or reducing her hours, have they considered the impact? Right now, each individual is spending 60 cents per day, $1.20 per two-person household, to have the nurse. What is the impact otherwise? The impact is depending upon resources that are outside the community gates that might not always be available in a time of need. Furthermore, having our own nurse assures a sense of familiarity. There is someone who has knowledge of our medical history. This is not true even if we manage to get a hold of whoever is on call at a walk-in clinic. There are those amongst us who somehow can never leave well enough alone. When we moved to Stonebridge, it was no secret that a 24/7 nurse was part of our budget. No one was forced to buy there if they didn't want to. And now that we're all getting older, facing more serious health problems than ever before, people are looking to change the existing policy. How people who are aging can think that they need fewer medical services than they did 15 or 17 years ago is beyond me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward now. Your name and address for our record, sir.
My name is Paul Altschuler, A-L-T-S-C-H-U-L-E-R. I'm at 168 Diamond Spring Drive in Stonebridge. For many years, Stonebridge has been forced by Monroe Township into having a nurse on duty 24/7. It cost our community millions of dollars over the years and is now a burden to many of our residents. Today, with the town's modern and efficient EMS service, it is no longer necessary to make us maintain our nurse's office. EMS has proven itself time and time again with its stellar performance and life-saving missions. With the full support of our full-time firefighters backing up EMS if they're busy, I don't know if everybody's aware of that. That's a recent situation. The firefighters will respond if EMS is busy. It is time to remove the town's mandatory rules pertaining to the HOA. As far as cute little anecdotes and stories, I've been very amused by the nurse coming to people's houses and holding their hands and feet while they wait for emergency services. We have
folks,
not...
Please, folks.
I have the right to speak, thank
He
you.
has the right to speak,
Right.
and so please.
As far as my own experience, I'd like to share a small anecdote. I was putting up a light fixture, and the light fixture contained many little parts that had to be screwed in. So my wife got on the ladder and she says, "Could I do that?" And I said, "Absolutely, thank you." And while I wasn't looking, she stepped on the kitchen table. And she's a light person, but the table went over. And as she lay on the floor with a broken collarbone, my first action was to call 911. 911 responded in 2 minutes. The nurse never showed up, even though it was written down that they're supposed to get the call from 911 and appear at the scene. I can only say the greatest things about our EMS system. We've honored people here tonight. I see nothing wrong with the system. They're across the street from Stonebridge. They respond wonderfully to all our requests, and I think they're enough to cover our medical needs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward now. Shush, folks. Hey, please. I am not at a board meeting. I'm at a council meeting. Ma'am, your name and address for our records.
Sandra Rothfarb, 91.
Wait a moment. Folks, we endeavor to treat every...
Excuse me, if a person is cursing, is he allowed, can you remove the...
What I would, please, I would request that each of you treat each other with respect at this meeting. We endeavor as a council to treat everyone who comes here with respect. So please let people talk. Everyone will get their turn. I would not like to have to ask our police officer to bring into action. Please, folks, thank you. Sorry, ma'am, your name and address for our records.
Sandra Rothfarb, 91 Diamond Spring Drive.
Thank you.
I feel the ordinance...
Your microphone.
I'm sorry. I feel that the ordinance is essential and right, and that we need it, no matter what age you are in Stonebridge. This is not a matter of self-determination or using someone else. This is a matter of doing what's right. If the nurse helps only a few people, wonderful, that's good. We need the help. We deserve the help. And the cost is really minimal in terms of other monies that we spend on eating out and doing this and doing all kinds of things, which is fine. But this is an essential, and it's not a matter of self-determination, of we should have a vote. We have something good going. let's keep it going for what's good for everybody. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
I move, yes. I will recognize you, yes, please. Your name and address for our records.
Michelle Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. I have a couple questions regarding some of the other items on the
Yes, please.
list. I'll be brief because I do want to discuss the ordinance. The ordinance 062024012, the detention basin, and we're getting that from, you got it? 012.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Someone will get.
Don't waste my
Yes, I'm
time.
right here.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
The detention basin, and does that have anything to do with the resolution 62024-176? Are they tied in together at all? And that is,
The insertion of special
President?
item of revenue,
I think it's a grant for stormwater.
Water Resources Management.
Council President?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, it's you.
Look who's here.
Rathmowitz, please.
So the ordinance is an acceptance of a drainage easement. It's
Right.
It was inadvertently left off of their final plat when it came before the board and that map was filed.
Right.
So it's a storm pipe that runs through one of the properties. That's all that is.
That's just accepting the easement through one of the properties.
Accepting the easement. It would have been depicted on the final plat and it would have been accepted at the time of the final plat. However, it was inadvertently left off by the contractor.
Does the township already own and take care of the detention basin?
This
Have
is
they
not a
dedicated?
detention
It's
basin.
not a dedication to us?
It's not a detention basin. It's
Okay.
It's a storm easement for a drainage pipe that's installed under the property.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, and let's just go to the resolution 0123. Nope, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The resolution regarding the grant, I believe, for the stormwater management. Is there anything to the grant that Monroe needs to add to that grant? We have a $15,000 grant. Are we responsible for anything else based on that grant?
Council President,
Ms. McGowan.
we are not under, I'll defer to the engineer, but we are not under an obligation to match that grant.
Okay, and what will that be used for? Do we have it earmarked for something?
Council President, so what this is, under our stormwater discharge permit with NJDEP, we're required each year to do annual reporting regarding our stormwater management for the entire town. It includes, recycling portions of it, as well as the maintenance responsibilities for all our stormwater basins. So what the state did this year, there is some new mapping requirements under that permit that are required. So the state provided a grant, which all the municipalities who have that permit are entitled to, and that's what this $15,000 is.
So this is going to be used for essentially soft costs, like engineering and mapping, and it's not really going to make any improvements to the stormwater, like physically?
It is not fit for the physical improvements to the stormwater. It's part of the stormwater reporting.
Okay.
And there's several items that are required from what our DPW has to do as far as mapping that has to be done for the township. So this goes towards that. That's
And
what that is.
DPW, some engineering, any other planning? Are these all going to all these types of?
Again, it's a grant for the entire reporting, and there's so many aspects of the reporting. I couldn't even list them all to you as we
Okay.
sit here tonight.
I'll come back to that. In terms of the ordinance that people are talking about in Stonebridge, I am not in one of the adult communities. However, I've been coming to these meetings long enough. I sort of have the pulse of some of the people my age. I think that in the adult community, and I think these ordinances are good for what they were originally put forward to, and taking that away seems to be a detriment to the public, to the people who live there, but also to the public. This is a private community. They have chosen at this point to continue to have a nurse. I've had friends, not necessarily in Stonebridge, but in Rossmore and other places, who have availed themselves to the nursing help, and it's been critical, and it's been very important to their health. And if they have to wait for an EMT, then very often they don't have to. The nurse really satisfies the need or make a recommendation to go to the hospital or something, and it's very important. The other thing, it seems to me that, again, because this is a private community, this government is dictating an issue that has to do with health and safety of the residents. And then if we also want to talk about cost, if you eliminate this from the ordinance, okay, and people don't have to pay, then the greater community, and a gentleman sort of attested to that the greater community, it's going to cost more money for EMT services, and while we have good services and plenty of them, it is really now going to be, the cost is going to be spread out to the larger and general community. So I would say, don't do it.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else wishing to address us?
Hi, yes, my name is Ruby Unger, and that's U-N-G-E-R. I live at 55 Timber Hill Drive in the Stonebridge development. I'm deaf, so I have missed a lot of what has gone on. Unfortunately, I can't read lips
From where you were, you should have, right.
I did find it apropos that you awarded a proclamation to an EMS individual this evening. And I wanted to point out that one of the benefits of having the nurse 24/7 is that they are able to assess what kind of care is necessary, thus freeing up EMS to go to those other locations and people who really do need that kind of assistance. That is very critical to us, having her on having the nurses available, and also to every other development and just the community at large. That is a very, very valuable service that these nurses are providing by taking a lot of the stress and a lot of the excess off of the EMS so they can truly address those people who need it. And I hope that you take that into consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward now. Thank you. Sir, your name and address.
Hi, my name is Harold Newtouch at 18 Steeple Road, Monroe Township, in the greater community of Stonebridge. I didn't come here with a prepared speech. I found out the last hour that there was this meeting. All I want to leave you with is, from my heart, Stonebridge needs the nurse.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address us at this time? If not, I will seek seeing and hearing none. I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public comment section, please.
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment section is closed. May I have a motion to adjourn the agenda meeting, please? Motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes. Meeting is adjourned at
7:37.
Regular meeting is called to order. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
May I have a second on that motion?
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Here.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the payments of the claims per the run date of June 20th, 2024? Motion.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the following meetings as written and presented? June 5th, 2024. Agenda and regular combined meeting. Motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to move to the ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 06-2024-011. an ordinance amending Chapter 39 of the Code of the Township of Monroe entitled Fees. Public hearing, I need a motion to open, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Take. Anyone wishing to address the council on ordinance 06-2024-011, please come forward now. Seeing and hearing none, a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now would like a motion to adopt ordinance 06-2024-011.
So
Motion.
moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes, motion's
Motion
adopted.
carries.
Ordinance is in place. Ordinances for introduction, 06-2024-012. Ordinance authorizing the Township of Monroe to acquire a storm sewer management easement over property located at Remington Avenue, known as Block 13-01, part of lots 4 and 5 on the Township of Monroe tax map, parenthetical Stratford. Motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 06-2024-013. Ordinance amending the code of the Township of Monroe under Chapter 108, Section 6.23, to amend the medical facility requirements in the Plan Retirement Community District 2, parenthetical PRC 2. Motion. Let's go, folks.
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes, this is just an open discussion. and
Correct.
This
This
is
is
not
to
to
get
actually
vote.
vote on the ordinance, just so the public understands.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Thank you,
agree that we
Counsel.
could have discussion.
And Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6, would the clerk please do the resolutions for consideration under the consent agenda? Oh, nays,
Wait.
side left. Anyone object to this introducing?
No, no,
Go
no.
back.
No, we're.
Council President.
Ordinance of the
Forgot 14.
Monroe Township Council repealing I apologize, Chapter 78 of the Code of the Township of Monroe entitled Personnel Policies and Procedures. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolutions for consideration under the consent agenda. R6 2024-168 through R6 2024-178.
With the exception of R6 2024-171, which will be voted on separately.
Thank you. Motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thanks again. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolutions removed from the consent agenda for consideration. Resolution number.
R6 2024-171.
Motion.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Abstain.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will move to our administrator's report. Kevin McGowan, our Deputy Township Administrator, is with us this evening. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Council President. I'll be very brief this evening. With your permission, if I may ask Mr. Stroin to just give a brief update on an irrigation service issue
Absolutely.
in town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stroim. He's the best in the microphones in the whole room. Don't go crazy, I'm telling you.
It should be on.
There it
Yeah,
is.
there you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Council President.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Deputy Business Administrator. It's an opportunity and a pleasure to give you guys an update on the extremely hot weather and irrigation demand that we've had throughout the township over the last several days. As many of you might recall, back in April, through our normal water quality and monitoring and testing, we discovered that the filter media in 2 of our wells was not functioning up to standards. As a result, we took those 2 wells off service. That reduced 35% of our capacity to deliver water to the township. Now, we immediately went ahead and did a competitive bidding process and awarded a contract that was approved by the council at the May 6th meeting to replace that media for approximately $1 million. That was anticipated to take place and be completed before Memorial Day when the hot weather actually began. As a result of the national supply chain issues and issues beyond the contractor's control, what happened is that work has been delayed. Subsequently, on June the 20th, we had the extremely hot and dry weather. And what I want to try to do is put that in perspective for you. We did not have to reduce water, do any restrictions throughout the township. What we had to do, however, was alter an irrigation schedule for 4 developments throughout the township. Rather than allowing the water to be used during the peak hours of the evening, which is when everybody turns their irrigation on, and just to give you a perspective of what that is, usually around 12 midnight, irrigation starts kicking in. And our demand on a normal average day throughout the township is about 4.5 million gallons a day. On an instantaneous basis, when that irrigation kicks in during this last week, our demand jumped up to 19 million gallons per day. As a result of that, our tank levels, which makes up the difference between the production that we're able to produce, recognizing that we had 2 of the wells or 25 to 30% of our capacity offline, our tank levels made up for that. Well, our tank levels were declining at such a rate that it potentially was going to cause a negative pressure that would result in a vacuum in the system, a negative pressure in the system, and a boil water notice throughout the township. I could not allow that. So as a result of that, what we did was take the interim measures of altering the irrigation schedule for just 4 developments, and rather than in the middle of the night during the peak periods, we altered it to between 10 and 2 in the afternoon during non-peak periods. That was able to carry us through that extremely hot weather, and we hope that based again on our tireless working with the contractor and the contractor's tireless efforts to get this media replaced, that we will have within the next couple of weeks the situation resolved and have our capacity back online. And again, we sincerely appreciate our utility personnel have been working round the clock with all of our facilities running to make sure that there are no water restrictions in our township, and that most importantly, from a public health and safety standpoint, all of our residents have the highest quality drinking water that they need for their necessities, as opposed to just, putting it on the lawn. And I really appreciate everyone's patience, support, and understanding. And again, we believe that within the next couple of weeks we'll have the issue resolved so that all of the irrigation schedules can be returned to normal. But until that time, we're going to keep them at its current altered state, where a few developments are actually going to be irrigating later on in the day during the off-peak hours. And again, I'd be more than happy to review any of our hydraulic models or any of our technical details with any resident to make sure that there's a clear understanding. But again, really appreciate everyone's patience and understanding in this.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Story.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Council President. I just have a few more items, and
Sure.
hopefully Mother Nature might be helping us out overnight with some water for
As long as
for
it's
irrigation.
moderate.
As long as it's safe, of
Moderate,
course.
no storms.
I just want to, on behalf of the administration, just congratulations again to Eric Kestner for his 33 years of stellar service to the township. We couldn't appreciate that more. Speaking of the heat, we want to recognize and thank all of our township employees who do much of their work outdoors, including DPW and MTUD, parks, and all of our first responders and our camp employees over the summer. This stretch of hot days has been challenging, and our employees do a great job, so just want to thank them very much for that. Couple of announcements. The mayor and the police department are doing some community safety tip presentations. They do so about every 6 months. The next ones are on July 2nd at 6:30 at the Monroe Township Community Center, and July 18th at 3:30 p.m. At the Senior Center. All of this is advertised throughout the township and on our website. These will also be videotaped and posted on our website for anyone who's unable to attend. An announcement that our farmers market begins tomorrow, which is a treasure here in town. It'll be every Thursday other than the 4th of July from 2:30 to 6:30 at the library parking lot. And just finally, a reminder about our annual 4th of July celebration event in Thompson Park. Our recreation department, our DPW, EMS, police do a phenomenal job every year of putting that on. And that event starts at 5 p.m. with the fireworks at dusk. There's live music, there's rides, there's food vendors, and you can contact the Recreation Department with any further questions. And that's my report, Council President.
Thank you so much. Move to council reports. I will move. Councilwoman Siegel, would you like to?
Did you want engineer?
Oh, Mark, I'm really, my apologies to you tonight. Mr. Tway, sir.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to be very brief as well. Tonight, the council awarded the demolition project for Garvey's. We did receive 8 bids. The bid came at $110,000 and change. So that was a very good bid, and we look to get that started very quickly. Secondly, South Middlesex Avenue paving has been completed.
Would you please, folks, help us get through our information? Sorry, Mark, please continue.
Sorry. The South Middlesex Avenue paving project, that has been completed with the help of an NJDOT grant, local freight grant, again, and that has been complete. The next project, Inwood Estates paving project and road improvements, that has been submitted to NJDOT for approval. I anticipate being out to bid in July and anticipate award at the next council meeting on August 5th. And lastly, the 2024 road repaving program that was awarded at the last council meeting. We're going to be repaving approximately 18 roadways. That work, the concrete work for that will be starting on July 8th, and then once all the concrete work is complete, we'll be into the milling and paving for completion during the summer months prior to school starting.
And I also noticed when I go down Forest Gate Drive that they've done some work around those railroad tracks.
I believe some patching was done out there by either Middlesex County or the railroad.
Somebody
I'm not
did
sure
it,
who,
the
but
car
it is a
doesn't
county
go
road.
Yeah, so that was very appreciated.
And that's my report.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Siegel.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. So my report's going to be brief also, since we had a council meeting earlier this month. But I do want to comment, I'm very excited about the farmers market starting tomorrow, because to me it's a sign of summer and all the great and wonderful activities that we have going on in our township. And I do want to acknowledge our Parks and Recreation department, since it's their appreciation month, and just what an amazing job they do really keeping our facilities and our parks looking beautiful. I hope everyone does get to enjoy our pickleball courts, playgrounds, and all the other facilities that they maintain. Just another couple items. Dye Farm Open House is coming up. The next one is on Sunday, July 7th from 1 to 4 p.m. and they have a special guest, as they've been doing throughout the year. They have TJ Fallon from Dead History. So this gentleman is interesting. He travels the country and visits different presidential gravestones, and also he researches and does a lot of information. So you can actually follow him on Instagram. And we also have one of our Monroe residents, Hannah Kerwin, also coming. So please try to come out and join us there. And our summer concerts are starting, another fun event. They begin on Thursday, July 11th at 6 p.m. in Thompson Park. The series runs throughout the summer through August. And, you know, we hope that everyone can come out and join us. There's a wonderful series. And I just wanted to congratulate all our students, Monroe students, who had moving up ceremonies and high school graduations. We wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
We congratulate you on your son's graduation from college with a straight 4.0 average for 4 years. This is an enviable thing. Councilman DePiero.
Thank you. I I want to start off by saying I attended court in this room a few weeks ago, and had the honor of our 7th graders were here. It was amazing to see that 3/4 of the room were students to stay, not to follow the laws and don't be in court, to watch the people on the smaller side of the room that had tickets and violations, and the children got to watch how the process is done. And it was just amazing to see our judge, Lombardi, and also see Donna Linke and her staff, along with the police, that explained everything in the process, and also our prosecutor. All the questions that that I had, and being in court many times, because I did break the law a few times, and I did get tickets for it. But I'll tell you, it was funny. It was funny to watch the kids ask questions, and each individual, either a judge, prosecutor, or police, do a fine job. So I just wanted to thank our police and the staff that did everything to help our 7th graders, and thank the teachers and the staff. And then I went last Friday to Trenton to. I always try to go to see the seniors from Monroe Township High School. When I graduated a long time ago, we did it in the football field. No turf fields back then, but it's an honor to go see the parents, the grandparents, and to see the 12th graders go into the next part of their life and their bright future. So I attended that, and it was very well done, and I wanted to say thank you to the Board of Ed and the staff that made all of that happen. I wanted to see if we can get an update on our Veterans Building. I wanted to see how we're doing with the construction. Is it done on time? I passed it quite a bit, and I also wanted to ask about the budget. Are we on budget? And then I also very concerned that our veterans are going to get the rental space that they deserve, and to make sure that they come first.
Absolutely. Council
Mr.
President.
McGowan, please.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilman. So it's called Valor Point. There is a website and a sign in front of the construction of the building. I've been talking to a number of residents. I know Tanya has as well, and the clerk's office and others who are interested and looking to figure out how to apply. So right now, to answer your question, what I've been told by Conifer is that they are about 65% complete. It is on budget. It is on time in terms of construction. What they're doing is on the website for Valor Point, and if anybody has any questions, they can always call me here at 521-4400, and we can walk you through that. You're putting your name on the website. There's an area to input your name and information onto an interest list. And at some point this summer, we hope in the next month or so, the managers at Conifer are going to be contacting the folks on that interest list to fill out a formal application, which will then review your income and your assets to make sure that you're qualified for the affordable housing. And then they're looking to do those. There's an application and an interview process that'll happen sometime in the fall, and they are shooting for the winter to actually get people moved in. This is probably not an updated number, but as of a couple weeks ago, there was 216 folks on the interest list. The vast majority of them veterans, and veterans have, of course, this is a veterans housing project. So we're feeling pretty confident we're going to be able to fill these 80 units with veterans fairly quickly, and so it's exciting. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, Kevin, for that. It's also Veterans Appreciation Month. So I just wanted to put a shout out to all the veterans and the families that are veterans in Monroe and across our state. So I just wanted to say thank you. Also on our township website, I think maybe we should get a pothole for our streets. If we could report resident sees a pothole. I know the Middlesex County Road Department has that. And they do also have a hotline. I think that's something that could be very helpful to maintain our streets, and also give our residents a 24/7 if they want to make a report. So if that's something we can add to our website, that will be appreciated. I noticed I got an email this month for the repairs to the hockey rink. What kind of repairs are getting done or got done at the hockey rink?
Mr. McGowan, are you aware of anything?
Council President, Mark, certainly if you're aware of anything that I'm not, and I apologize, I can certainly get that information if I don't
Yeah,
have it.
because
I
it
feel
was
like-
closed. It was closed. We all received an email, said they're doing repairs. I've taken pictures. There's cracks. There's a lot of things that need to be done, but I don't know what got done. The email didn't tell us what.
I feel like maybe there was some seal coating of some cracks, Mark, but we can confirm that for you and get back to you.
Yes, Council President, they were waiting on materials to take care of the cracks, and then, like Kevin said, a sealer of sorts and a filler. It's going through our Public Works Department and our Parks Department, but we can certainly follow up and get back.
All right, thank you, and let our residents know. Hydrant painting. Are we doing any hydrant painting throughout our community this year?
Council,
Not aware of any.
Council President, I'll defer to Mr. Stroin if he has any
Looking,
information.
and Mr. Stroiner didn't look right at me. I hear hydrants and water. You're welcome. Okay.
Excellent question, Councilman. We are in the process of hiring summer help, seasonal help, and as soon as those individuals are on board, we will begin our hydrant painting program for the summer.
Okay, thank you. Joe, just a couple more questions.
Sure.
How about water tower painting? What's our plan for water tower painting, as we do need that, as you know?
What we did is we actually went out to bid for the 3.5 million gallon hydro pillar on Applegarth Road, and that bid was opened on June the 25th, and we're in the process of analyzing those bids now, and we hope to award it either at the August meeting or September meeting, depending upon how those bids come out.
Okay, and thank you for the emails back and forth and for the explanation tonight about the irrigation. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome, Councilman. Thank you.
During the course of the month and last meeting, I brought up a suggestion that I've noticed in other towns, and we do have one speed limit. Your speed is at the high school entrance on Schoolhouse Road. I did forward to our chief of police some companies that have the speed limit signs, and I also sent that to Alan, which Alan's not here. Hopefully he feels better soon. And but if that's something that we can get to out on our communities, it will definitely help, because we've been receiving a lot of emails from the residents complaining, especially in the Avenue K, Monmouth Road, Union Valley Road. There's a lot of streets that the new paving gets done, and then the residents seem to go a little faster than what the speed limits allow. So, and it is summertime with our children, with the skateboards and the scooters and everything else. I ask that our residents try to follow the speed limits and be alert. So if we can get some display signs, I'd appreciate it. And the other thing, as a fire commissioner for 21 years, a resident came up and talked about firefighters responding to first aid calls if the first aid company does not respond. I'm not up here ever to really compare what a resident says, but as a fire commissioner, I can tell you that the township just recently we always work with the fire company, the first aid, police. But one of the things that we just recently added, if it's a non-responsive call, if somebody's not breathing, if it's something like life or death, then we do go to assist. We do have firefighters, men and women, that are qualified to do this type of CPR and work, and we do have the equipment. But I urge everybody, 911 is the way to go if you have a life-threatening situation. That's number one. Also, I wanted to say, years ago, many years ago, when the residents, we had Rossmore and then Clearbrook. The community was promised a hospital. So being promised a hospital and being a resident, I'm here for 64 years, so being a resident, and when a mayor or a council says we're going to give a hospital to the community for the betterment of the community, that was a promise that was made to previous council, previous mayors, and it was something that when I was a lot younger, I came to all the council meetings for many, many years, and I can tell you it's something that I went back and asked my dad and my uncles that were here for a lot longer than me, and I said, why do we need a hospital? Why do we need a hospital? And then we watched the community grow into a different community, which is warehousing and also adult communities. And a hospital is needed by everybody, not just elderly, not just commercial. It's also needed by students, schools, and everyone. But I think that's when everybody looks at the way that ordinance was written years ago. My personal opinion about a hospital was something that the community, was an outreach that the community wanted. But now, with listening to all of the pluses and the minuses, and I don't want to say any more than the reason why that hospital was discussed is a good part of the way the community changed. So, and change does happen. So I just wanted to put that out there because I don't know if any of the rest of the council was aware of that, or the public was aware of that. And that's something that I just thought that listening to all of the comments and listening to both sides, it's very important. It's a very important decision for all of us sitting up here. And we all have, my mom's going to be, 84 this year, so I understand. I definitely understand, and I also, like I said before, we all need it. But the last thing I wanted to say, 75th anniversary for our volunteer fire company is amazing, and I think maybe that's something we should put on our website, and also our display signs, the digital display signs throughout the town, to try to get the residents to come out on August 10th to the Thompson Park, and they have a band called the Nerds coming. It's going to be a great facility for the community to come together and everyone's support. But I just want to say it's not easy sitting up here listening to stories as residents talk about health, and a lot of people pointed it out. And I just want to say thank you for living in Monroe, and thank you for listening to us, because it's not easy sometimes, but thank you.
A lot of the announcements that were made tonight were on my list, and I'm not going to repeat them, so it's going to be kind of a short thing. I would just like to say that one of my pets in this town is diversity. Just as I was at a couple of things this past month, I was at an Indian festival. I was at the Juneteenth festival. Our first celebration of Juneteenth was this month in town at the library. We had over 100 people there. It was a great event. I hope everybody realizes next year we're going to expand on it and help the African American community in this town celebrate Juneteenth. It's a national holiday. As I said, this was our first year, so we're going to expand on that. It was really great. I'd also like to give a shout out. I think something we take for granted being in this country and being affluent is our water. Comes out of that tap every day, and Mr. Stroin does a fantastic job in this town. We have the best water in Middlesex County. It's really pure water. People buy Poland Spring water. They buy all this water. I drink it right out of the tap. I haven't. Pretty healthy. I get guarantees from Joe all the time. Don't worry about it. It's great water. But really, we should really look at the work that Mr. Stroin does and his people, and thank them. That water flows out of our faucets clear all the time. The only other thing I want to say is I want to thank all you people to be here tonight. I want to guarantee you that we take this very seriously. What you're saying to us about this ordinance and about this nurse is serious, is very serious. We just don't go home. I lose sleep over it. I have lost sleep over this because I read the emails, and there's two sides to it. No matter how flat the pancake, there's two sides to it. And we have to remember that. And we have to represent not only the people who are for the nurse, but the people who are for us overturning the ordinance. So I personally want to thank you people for coming here, taking your time to speak to us, tell us your feelings. I've spoken to all the councilmen, and we're all very, very interested in doing the right thing. Believe me, it's not something, let's just vote on it and get it over with. That's not the way we feel, believe me. I just wanted to put that out there. And usually I don't criticize too much about what the people say here. But thank you very much, and we'll do our best, believe me, believe me.
Council Vice President Van Zeren, please, sir.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Again, there was only a few items to talk about in terms of things coming up, the 4th of July, the farmers market, and everybody else mentioned that already, so invite you all to come out and enjoy some of the nice things that we have going on in our great town. I don't usually do this, but every now and then something comes up that I feel is of great importance, and I feel it needs to be explained a little bit more than might be understood. So tonight was the first reading of an ordinance about the nurse situation at Stonebridge. We will not be voting on that tonight. It does not get voted on until the second reading, which will be the next meeting, at which point other people could still be heard during that period of time. But, and Mr. Markell started to explain, and I also I put a lot of thought into this, because at first I really, there are two sides to every story. And as an attorney, I really try to look at both sides to see what is the right thing to do, because that's all I try to do is what I feel is correct. But first I hear, okay, Stonebridge is the only community required by ordinance to maintain a nurse out of 14 different senior communities. There's an association that governs Stonebridge. And then the question arises, well, shouldn't they be the ones that make decisions for their community? Because those are the people that govern it, and that's how it works in association law. When you move into an association, there's a board of trustees, and those are the ones that should be making decisions. And if you don't like the decision they make, then you vote them out and you get people in that make the decisions that you want. So should the town really be dictating to the Stonebridge board what they should do? That's kind of the argument on the one side. The other side of the coin, though, is this is an ordinance that's been in effect for many, many years, and I think it was in effect when many people actually purchased there, and they either knew of it or should have known about it when they moved in, because it's something that would have been reflected in the offering plan. I did hear residents come in this evening, and more than one said that that's one of the reasons that they moved into Stonebridge, is because out of all the associations in town, this is the one association that had a nurse on call. And there's something to be said for that, if that's what you were looking for in an association. And the ordinance was there in effect ahead of time. And that could have been an important factor for them to considering exactly where they wanted to live out of all of the communities that we have, and certainly it's a nice community too. There's no doubt about that. We also heard many of the residents who've testified as to their reliance on nurses, and I hear things that I hadn't even thought of before, like for example the person with a cardiac condition that needed blood pressure taken every day. Well, boy, I didn't even think about something like that, but this is something, if there was no nurse, you would either have to call EMS, tie up EMS to come out only to take a blood pressure, or they'd have to get to some facility, whether it be an urgent care or some other doctor's office, which would probably cost them the cost of a doctor's visit when they went out. So to have a nurse would save substantial amount of money in terms of co-pays and things of that nature. So that's another factor I hadn't even thought about. There's a certain, you get a certain reliance, and what I kind of understand from what I'm hearing from the people is not that they're choosing nurse versus 911, but they're choosing the nurse in conjunction or to supplement 911, which means that when, you know, they can call the nurse right away, they could still call 911 right away, but the nurse might get there quicker. They might not always get there quicker, but the fact that she's on call, she's in the same community, and that is her sole and entire purpose, is to get to residents in the community, probably she will be there earlier. And we've heard how there's been times when they've been able to assist in the preparation of someone who they know is going to have to go to the hospital, so that when EMS gets there, maybe they're just 5 minutes ahead of what they would have had to do had there not been a nurse on site. So I think that's another strong argument. So there are things that go both ways. I've heard different, what was called little anecdotes, and I don't think that they were just little anecdotes. I think that these were serious conditions that affected people and their lives, and some of which were really potentially life-threatening. So I don't know that the nurse actually made that real difference, but there's a good chance that she may have. And those are important things I think that we have to consider. The other thing is, I heard the Vice President say that this is really, I'm sorry if it was the Vice President or the other gentleman, this is really something that would give future members the ability to change if they want it or did not want it. And I think the answer to that is, if in the future they want change, they could always come back and ask that this be revisited. But we're here to discuss what's happening now. The fact that the potential resolution within the association requires 2/3 vote leads me to believe that in all probability nothing would happen. I've been an attorney representing different associations, both seniors and non-seniors, and trying to get a quorum for just about anything is sometimes difficult. But right now, if we have something in place, people have relied on something in place, I think that's a strong factor to consider. So we're not voting tonight, but there are two sides to the story. I think we have to all consider what everyone testified to tonight, and sometimes there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we also consider that. But we will be back on next month, and as Councilman Markell told you, I think you can understand that all of the council is going to give it serious consideration on both ends. So thank you.
Mr. Markell had a question.
I just have a quick question. How many, do you have a total number of calls these nurses make?
Sure he does. Sure he does.
I was told 2 years ago there were 17,000 calls in a year to you.
The nurse made 17,000 calls in 1 year?
17,000 visits, or where she tended to do something.
Can I-
Blood pressure or whatever.
Can I make a comment,
just-
please, on that?
Yes.
I live in a community and has a nurse 24 hours a day, and served on my community's board for 10 years. There are records kept in the nurse's office by every nurse in however many hours that the nurse is in the community. Just a minute, sir. I see your hand. I just wanted to, I did not see it. So that I am aware from my own past experience that the boards of all of the communities get a record of how many visits were made to the office, the types of visits that were made, and if the records are being kept appropriately within your office. They are kept by the shift on which the resident was there, and information as to severity of what it was. The confidentiality of everyone who comes there is maintained, but the information is there. And that was my experience as president of a board in this. That was my experience as president and member of a board for 10 years in a community. So the records are available. We are going to not, I would really, if we could, I would like to finish and move to public comment, so you would all get to comment, but I really need to just finish this. It will be, I see, because we will move to another public comment section. So just let me please finish. There's a piece of the agenda that I need to do, and we will certainly allow for more, the comments that you wish to make. And therefore, I will, Mr. Van Zura, you are through. Okay, I will choose not to add to the record, except to say that what I always hope when residents come is that some of you will decide that we were interesting enough to show up at more meetings when it is not just an issue that is pertinent to you. I strongly believe in a government and in a population that is an informed citizenry and better prepared about the issues. So some of what we do may not be overwhelmingly exciting, but some of it is genuinely interesting. So if you could find it within your schedules that once a month you visit us, and you visit with us, not just that you are here, but that you're here and you participate, I think that that would be a wonderful thing. So what I'm going to do this officially, and not get told by the 3 lawyers that are sitting to my left, is we are going to move to the public comment period most officially. So I would like a motion to open public comments, please. Someone do that.
Motion.
Thank you. Someone do a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good. Sir, you were the first hand raised. No, he was the first hand raised in our unofficial period.
I just wanted to mention that we just received.
Sir, you have to come up and you have to announce your name.
All right.
Yes, and your name, it was, if I heard Jerry correctly, please.
Jerry Morelli, 15 Lionheart in Stonebridge. I just wanted to say that we just received a nurse's report for January through May, broken out into various categories for all 3 shifts, and I'll be glad to send it to Kevin so he can distribute it to the rest of you.
There is a saying in my field that says the work isn't done until the paperwork is completed.
You got it.
So yes, that is there. Dr. Prakash, please.
Thank you, President. Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I have a question on where the Percy's restaurant is there, in the Indian restaurant intersection, Applegarth and Old Orchard Road. People are concerned about that intersection. I hear it for last several years. I have been coming. Anything can be done to avoid accidents on that road, that intersection? Applegarth and Old Orchard Road.
It's Old Church, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Old Church Road.
Old Orchard. Percy's Restaurant, if you remember.
Oh, I know. Yes, going down.
Correct.
Yes, to the rest.
Council President, so I did have a meeting on the site with the county engineer. So the county engineer is reviewing that intersection to see if there's some immediate improvements that can be done to that intersection to help make it a little less confusing when you come to the intersection.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are requests that at least a flashing light should be put there so that to avoid the accidents. So I will tell my community that there is a thought process going on, okay, on that. The next question is, we have very severe hot days here. The temperature's going up. So what is the emergency for the people? Suddenly they lose their electricity. What is the emergency where they can go in the township?
Mr.
So, Council President, thanks for that question, Dr. Parab. It's a good one. So, in certain situations when JCP&L cannot promptly get the power back on, our police department, our Office of Emergency Management make a decision to open a temporary cooling center. If it's a matter of a short disruption in the power, a 10 or 15 minute or sometimes even longer, and depending on how hot it is outside, the police department, Office of Emergency Management make a decision. Various locations have the potential to be cooling centers, including the community center, the senior center, the library, and the police department itself in some situations.
My comment on this is we have to be proactive that if there is a grid and electricity goes away for a certain amount of time, here are the centers open for the emergency, because by the time police takes a decision, how the person, the citizen, I'm just commenting, President. I think the thought process you all have to do.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to just maybe clarify a little bit what you're saying. Those community cooling centers may change at every time. So it's not like there can be a preventive notice to everybody that these are the cooling centers, because they have to be prepared.
I understand that, but in New York City and several places, the heating, there's going to be a crisis, and they say where you have to go. You don't wait for, what the law may be, but you don't wait.
Sir,
So,
we can't function on hypotheticals, we do understand what you're saying.
Okay, but do understand, that's fine. Thank you very much. The next question is the wells. Wells purification system failed, or purification, because there should be a trigger system that efficiency of the filters. And there should be a trigger system, you don't wait till they fail. So because I thank what they have done. I'm not commenting, I'm very, very thankful. But going forward, because 35% of our water comes from those wells, there's any triggering system? That's my question, please.
Mr. Stroin, please.
That's okay.
That's an excellent question. And again, the issue is that that's what we were doing. From a proactive standpoint, we monitor the pressures that go across the filter media. We look at the adsorption of it, removing the particulate matter. We were able to see that it wasn't performing up to standard. We took the action to go ahead and shut those things down in advance of the hot season really coming into play. And again, it was that supply chain issue that caused the delay. So proactively,
thank you very much. I understand. Thank you.
I see 3 people. Yes, sir.
I don't have to approach the microphone. I just want to.
Sir,
You do.
Sir, you have to come up.
Sorry, we really have rules. Much more. Again, your name and address for the records. This is an
Paul
official meeting.
Ausschuler, 168 Diamond
sir.
Spring Drive. I just wanted to state one fact, that I personally read the report from the nurse,
Okay.
and I believe it was the year either 22 or 23. During that year, for the full year, she made 1,000 house calls.
Thank you, sir.
Not 13,000 or 15,000.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Oh, folks, we're going to have another hearing on this. I think you were waiting. Wait. I see 2 folks on my left, and then your turn. Whoever walks faster is going to make this first. You like that? Don't walk so slowly.
Do I need my name again?
Yes, you do. Your
George
name and
Conkelman,
address.
5 Kelly Court, Monroe.
Yes.
JCP&L, street lighting. I've had good responses from the clerk's office about who to connect and all that, and I've done all that. And a couple of times they've come out and repaired it. And for some reason, whatever JCP&L does is about as temporary a repair as it could possibly be. I'm once again cycling on and off. They keep replacing with what is kind of stupidly, excuse the expression, outdated equipment, i.e. there's sodium halide bulbs that go in and out. And they use, 4 or 5 times more energy than LEDs. We in the town, in our lots, have replaced those older
Correct.
style things with LED lights. Just about every commercial facility, almost all new construction has, that goes through our planning board and everything is LEDs. Yet we allow JCP&L in the community to use our money that we pay for street lighting to continue to use outdated systems that fail regularly and repeatedly. LEDs last 10 times longer. That's the main reason people change them, because they last so much longer. The big expense in lighting is the manpower when they do have to change them. So it's, to coin an expression, stupid. And I don't know why we don't have more leverage with them. Possibly we could talk to Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo, who's connected more to electrical issues and maybe has a little more weight with JCP&L than we do as one township. But it's not a very professional approach that we're experiencing here.
Mr. McGowan, would you like to comment on that, or I will?
Council President, I think that's a good idea
Yeah.
to bring that to the Assemblyman's attention. We also have a contact in the Office of Government Relations, and we've certainly talked to her a lot about street outages, and we can certainly raise additional issues about the actual outdated equipment.
And I was in touch with the Assemblyman's office earlier this week,
On another issue.
and we'll be speaking with him about this as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Large developments in the community, particularly in any upcoming large development. Historically in Monroe, as well as Cranberry, we had, before we planted houses, we planted potatoes here. And the potatoes were irrigated with ponds that were dug mostly right after World War II with drag lines. Not expensive to build, and some of them still exist. In the southern side of Encore, there are the old ponds that were left over from that plant. No one is using those sources to irrigate their lawns. None of the gated communities are using them. I think we should look into the possibility of getting more ponds, both in existing communities, if there a location that works can be identified, and certainly in future ones, because it's absurd that we spend the money to purify water and then spray it out on the ground in outrageously large amounts. And in the case of the larger communities, they pay a different rate. They don't have sewer added onto it. The irrigation is separate. So we also cut them a break. In individual households, if you have a single-family house on a street, you have one rate. So if you're going to sprinkle your lawn, you're going to add on sewer to it. So we're, which is reasonable. We're not going to have 2 meters in every house. That would be burdensome and not realistic. But we're we're giving them a break to use the water that costs us a lot more. And I think we should look into policies that can get away from that and install some ponds. It happens in other places. Almost everywhere you go in Florida, they're using water from the canals or from ponds and stuff. They're not using treated water.
Thank you, sir.
So we could do that as well.
Thank you for your
Is my
comments.
time up?
Your time is...
You have a minute left.
Oh,
I
I'm
have a
sorry.
minute?
I thought I heard a
Oh,
ding.
you're cutting me short.
My apologies.
Now, I'll leave it at that. I had one other item, but
Sure.
it takes more than a
I
minute.
really
So,
did think I heard it.
next month.
Next month, I'll see you.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Did you hear that ding? Yeah, it must be getting groggy. Maybe I should have a little coffee.
Michelle Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street.
Yes.
Very quickly, resolution R62024-172. How many vehicles are we selling?
Mr. McGowan?
Council President, I don't believe we have that number yet. This will be the authorization to engage in that. I'll certainly get you that
Well,
information.
it doesn't matter. It should be on the resolution, right? People are, hi.
No,
I think,
That's
not.
fine.
oh, you do have it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Folks, please, I can't hear.
I can respond, Council President. Currently, there's 13 vehicles on the list, but it's not complete yet. It's still being updated.
Okay. And I'm just curious on R62024-173, the Garvey's demolition. What are we going to use that? That's going to be open space. What are we using it for? And why would we destroy an entire building that we might be able to use for recreational purposes? You have bathrooms there, you have a kitchen. Why couldn't we use $110,000 to just spruce up the building?
Okay,
I have
so,
the same question.
so what had happened is that basically the closing was done, all the buildings were reviewed, they were monitored by experts, there was no way to save the building. And so now there's going to be other purposes for the residents in a safer manner.
What residents?
For the residents of Monroe to use the
Yes.
land.
So we're demolishing a building and then
It's,
rebuilding?
No.
it cannot salvage the building.
And what engineers did
Well,
that?
the
Do
experts that we have here, you have an engineer over here.
And they will benefit by both the demolition and the building?
It's not a benefit. We're trying to benefit for the residents, the property.
Well, sometimes just rehabbing things is a benefit. But anyway, we'll move on.
Sure.
The cameras, where are the cameras going to be placed? That is Resolution 178.
Is that our police council?
President?
Council President,
Yes, please.
this is cameras and other access infrastructure for the new police department
Right, so-
headquarters. I don't have an exact mark. I don't know if you have an exact
But
location.
it's on the property
Purely
primarily
for
for
the
the police
police
department.
That's
It's
correct.
not-
Yes.
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 Not Big Brother yet. Okay. And last but not least, the comment that, I'm sorry, Ms. Shah made about the emergency management. I thought the whole point of emergency management is pre-planning for emergencies. To say that we don't know where cooling stations or emergency things are until the emergency occurs is so reactionary. I mean, I think we have an emergency management personnel. I think we pay for this. I think we're required by the state or
Ma'am.
may I finish? I think I
No,
have
no,
the floor.
I understand that, but I think
But do
that,
I have the floor,
I think you're
Madam
taking it out of
President?
context. I'd just like to correct it
Council
before you
President,
continue.
do I have the floor or
Okay.
not?
Just let her finish, please.
Thank
Would
you.
you please finish?
Yes, and it's my understanding that we have to present a plan to the state, I believe, or to the county. So these things should be in place. We have citizens, we have young children, we have people with disabilities. People should know when an emergency occurs where they can go. That is the whole point of an emergency management system. Thank you very much.
Council- You're welcome. Council President.
Ma'am, what I want to say, and I didn't say anything about the OEM plan. The only thing that the gentleman was asking you for, and I'm not sure if maybe if this was missed, is that the deputy business administrator said that we have cooling stations. A lot of times the cooling stations break down or there's issues with it. You can't have a hey, please everybody go to this building, and it can't even cool everybody down. So that is why we were saying that. We weren't saying that there wasn't an OEM plan.
Correct.
Well, an OEM plan should be,
There is one.
So tomorrow or tonight, if the electricity goes out and it's a very
Then-
serious situation, where can people go
People
tomorrow?
will go to the appropriate designation.
But what does that mean?
I don't have the information in my head, but I know that OEM has it. I know that our
Okay, but
police
the
has it.
people need to know.
And the people would be
Okay.
notified where to go, just like we have been when we have snowstorms and
The
previous
township
ones.
is, for the most part, very, very good. But
And
to
that
hear
has-
council say, we don't know until it occurs, it's not a hypothetical. Emergency
Council
management
President.
plans are just that. a
Council
plan.
President, I think-
It's gonna be.
I beg your pardon?
Mark and I can
Mark
shed
and
some
I can
additional light
present
on this.
additional information.
The community
So-
center, the library,
Hey,
or
folks, we're all getting a little
So I
spacey.
promise I'll be brief, and
Goody.
Mr. Razumowitz will
Will be
add
great.
anything or correct anything that I say.
Right.
The Office of Emergency Management absolutely has a plan in place. Though, and I may have not been as clear as I could have been before when I mentioned a few different locations. Those locations are part of the plan, but it will depend on the current situation. What if the power's out and the generator's not working at the community center? There's a backup plan. There's a whole public outreach plan in place for OEM to let people know the senior center is today's cooling center, or they're all going to be open today. So there's different variations based on the situation. Those plans are absolutely in place, and they are presented to the state, and our personnel in that regard do a phenomenal job. Mark, I don't know if there's anything.
Need to know. Thank you, Council President,
You
for
are
my
most
time.
welcome.
And thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Bengay.
Razumowitz.
Kevin summed it up perfectly. There is absolutely plans in place, and there are multiple shelters, there's multiple cooling centers, and it would depend on the situation, and OEM has that public service announcement on how to put it out so that the residents would get it if needed.
I am very confident that we have always and will continue to do as we have always done, appropriately notify residents when something happens of a serious nature.
you,
We
Council
are not.
President.
You are most welcome. On that, does anyone else have anything they would? Oh, there you are. I am so sorry. Your name and address for our records, please.
My name is Ann Freed, and I am at 8 Griffin Drive in Monroe.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just have one very, very brief comment. When the gentleman said that there were 1,000 calls made by the nurse to the residents, there are many, many more calls by the residents going to the nurse.
Thank you very much for your comments. Does anyone else have anything they wish to bring before to the council this evening? Please come forward now. Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public comment section.
Motion.
May I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Council President,
No.
could I just make one comment, please? The residents are asking about shelters. I just want to point out, Station 51 is geared up for a shelter, fire, a brand-new firehouse that's geared up with generators, bathrooms, showers, everything that, if anyone needs the facility, the doors are wide open because that's a building that the taxpayers own, and we're there for 24/7. It's on 469 Spotswood Englishtown Road, in the corner
Intersection
of
of
Old
Texas
Texas Road. But that building's open to the public. If there's an emergency, a hurricane, or whatever the situation may be. So that's a building that the town residents can count on
Thank you.
24/7.
We are now voting to close the public comment section, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment is closed. I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
May I have a second on that motion?
Second.
We are adjourned. All in favor?
We are adjourned. It's 8:40.